Hello and welcome back to the podcast. There was an amazing event that I went to this previous summer. It was a youth event with my church. So it was a week of camping, having services in the morning and the evening. The worship was absolutely amazing. I could do an entire podcast episode about the worship. It was one of the most amazing weeks of my entire life. I could not have ex- expected anything more amazing. Like my expectations were blown away and I grew a lot over that week. I learned so much about myself, so much about who God is and how I can share him with my friends, how I can involve God in my everyday life. It was one of the most amazing things of my entire life. And to experience it with my friends and even get closer with new people part of our church and now seeing them every week is the highlight of my week. That was just an amazing week and I absolutely loved it. And so to build a little bit of the story of something crazy that happened that I want to share with you in this episode is that I was on stage for a good probably 10 minutes. But it was the most thrilling and kind of scary in a way, but it was an amazing experience. And so they had this segment, part of the morning sessions, called the Comfy Chair. And on that, they'd have a guy who was presenting it every morning, interviewing people about their faith journeys and what they've been through in life. And so about 2 months before this event called Limitless, my youth leader asked me about doing the Comfy Chair and if I was comfortable going on a stage and answering questions about this podcast. Because of this podcast, he asked me if I could talk about it and what I've been through creating this podcast and what it's like being a podcaster or sharing their faith online. And so I said yes, not really thinking much about it. And then literally 2 days before it happened, it was near the end of the week. And so 2 days before it happened, he's like, "You ready to do that on Friday?" I think it was. I can't remember exactly what day, but he said, Are you ready to do that?" And it was like, oh my gosh, I have to actually do that. And so my mind kind of spiraled. I got really scared, and then word around the camp was that I'm doing this. And so a lot of people were really excited and was like, "I'm the best person to ever do this. They're gonna love it." And deep down I was like, can I actually do this? What do I talk about? And then literally the morning before it happened, the guy who was interviewing me, he was a really great guy, he came around and we went through the questions together, and he really made it so calm and peaceful. And I was really kind of worried because there was about 4,000 or 5,000 people at that camp. And speaking in front of that many people is terrifying. And that's the most amount of people I've ever been in front of like that. And so, yeah, he made it really comfortable. We went through all the questions and it was great. And we actually have a recording of what I was asked and what it was like. And so, enjoy.
Right. Morning Limitless Festival. How's everyone doing? Okay? Cool. Today, I have Ethan with me. Ethan is going to share his story with us. And I thought it would be cool for him to share his story because Ethan has actually started a podcast. Ethan, I'd love to hear a little bit about, first of all, a little bit about you, and then also like what made you want to start this podcast.
Yeah, so I grew up in a missionary family in China. So I spent the first years of my life in China, and then God called my family to move to Thailand. So I lived another 3 years in Thailand, so I've spent most of my life outside the UK. Since moving here, The transition was quite difficult, but I found a good church, made some good friends, and then I wanted to start a New Year's resolution in January, just because I thought people who like go through 365 days and complete something every day or every week were very inspirational to me. So I started a podcast in January. Sadly, I haven't done it, but I did like 21 weeks of it, which is the longest I've ever done, which I'm very proud of. And then yeah, so started a podcast.
Can you tell us about what was the podcast about when you initially started, and how? Because now you share your faith in your podcast, right? So, what was it like when you initially started? What was it about, and then how did it transition to being about sharing your faith?
Yeah. So I initially started it wanting to shine light on some of my friends and family's stories as they traveled. So I have a lot of people that I know all over the world that have some pretty crazy, scary, exciting, and quite remarkable stories from their travel journeys. And I just wanted to create a space for people to share what they've been through and how God's led them to be where they need to be.
Nice, that's really cool.
And then so it quickly changed, and I quickly realized that people were being placed in these places and getting to experience these things all around the world because of what God had planned for them. And so I realized that everything I was wanting to share directly related to who God is and His plan for people's lives. And so I started doing a lot by myself, just wanting to share what I experienced for like what God's done in my life and what I'm learning. And so I did a lot of episodes, as I said, by myself, of just me kind of just talking. I'm an introvert, so I think a lot inside my head, so it became a space for me to explain and just share the little things I was learning from the Bible, from The Chosen, one of my favorite shows, and just explaining how it's created and how beautiful it is. And so yeah, it became a place for me to share my thoughts.
Yeah, that's really cool. So you went from like sharing other people's travel stories and realized that God was at the center of your story, so that inspired you to share your own faith. And what's the response been like since you put out your podcast?
Well, it's been really great. Those that listen absolutely love it. I've got loads of great fans who love what's being said and what I'm learning. It's definitely been really great to see the people behind the numbers that kept going up. So like a couple episodes we probably only get 5 plays or like 60 plays. It's pretty big in the podcast world because it's probably only, I think I heard one time there's only like 1 million podcasters in the entire world, which is crazy. There's not many, and so it's really cool to meet the people behind the numbers and realize that each number is someone learning and someone that, well, I just hope that someone who did listen or like one of those people got to realize and know how powerful God is in different people's lives and what He can do.
That's amazing. I think really resonate with what you said at the end there. Like, even if just one person is impacted by one thing that you say, that's still such a huge impact. So that's really great. I guess most people in this room, since it's a room full of young people, most people in this room will be on social media. What would you say, what advice would you give to young people who maybe want to start sharing their faith, either through podcasting, through YouTube, social media? Like, what advice would you give to them?
If you're wanting to share your faith, then you're not necessarily talking about you, but you can talk about your story and how God's impacted that, but you're not. Most of social media and social media content creators out there talk a lot about themselves and what they're going through, but I found sharing your faith, it's all about Jesus. And so what I've done is started just reading the Gospels and reading how Jesus lived and trying to implement that into how I act on social media. And so I just advise you to read how Jesus lived and try and implement that into your life.
That's so good.
Yeah, thank
Maybe there are some of you in this room who you're thinking about maybe starting a podcast, starting a YouTube channel. Just why don't you just go for it? Just give it a go and see what God might want to do.
Just do it.
Yeah, and I guess even on top of that, even if you don't want to go out there and do like a whole YouTube channel or podcast, what if everyone in this room, our Instagram pages, our TikTok pages were distinctly and unashamedly Christian? Like instead of imitating all the things that are going on in the world, we're using our platforms to glorify God and to tell people about Jesus. Right? Yeah, but thank you, Ethan. Why don't we give Ethan
Okay, that was crazy. One of the most crazy things of my entire life, and I'll never forget it. It really makes me realize how much I've grown this past year. I feel like I've grown so much in who I am and what I have become. And because of this podcast and so many other things a part of my year, it's been amazing. And to say that I've been on stage in front of 4,000 people talking about my journey of sharing my faith online is incredible. And I've been doing verses of the day, reels on Instagram, and the fact that that's blown up. That's something even bigger and more crazy than I could have ever imagined. That's a whole nother episode. But life has been so crazy. God has been providing and giving me and making me realize things that I'm capable of that I would have never thought I was capable of. And so that is one of those moments. So I'm very glad that I got to share this. I know it's been a long time. But yeah, I'm so glad. And let me know how you enjoyed it. I would love to hear from you guys what you think of how that went. And if you have any more questions, please ask me on Instagram or down in the comments and yeah, please leave a review on the podcast. Thanks for listening to me and have a great day. Hopefully I'll see you next week. I can't be totally sure when another episode will come out, but yeah, thanks for being with me.